Welcome back to the Screenlately Show. I'm Claire Anya Mosigwe, and today, for this half of the show, I'm discussing film with a very important, actually, emerging talent, Stephan Pierre-Mitchell. He's been a friend of the British Urban Film Festival for over 5 years. We have had the pleasure of exhibiting his documentary, the undisputed, multi-award winning Deleted movie. And he's actually on set right now at the place where he's just doing post-production for his forthcoming second short film, which is Reshaped, a star-studded sci-fi romantic comedy. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Stephan. Screenlately, I really appreciate it.
Welcome to you, Stephan. How has life been for you as an indie filmmaker post-pandemic now? What have you been up to?
It's been good, and it's got its own challenges as well. The fact that a lot of our films were screened online. That cinema experience wasn't available as what it used to be before. But I think we're coming back to normality, which is good. That casting is done a lot through Zoom's calls and in meetings. So I think there were the benefits and the disadvantages as well of the lockdown and pandemic as well.
Excellent. And so at the top of the pandemic, you were screening your movie Deleted around the world. Talk to us about the reception of the movie and how it's been, just traveling so far and wide.
Well, we started in 2019, so we just had the opportunities, to have that cinema experience. For me, what I take was the BFI Soul Fest, where we had these people literally clapping and laughing. And that's the beauty of, having cinema, experience. You get to feel the reactions of people. But other than that, it's been really welcome from Toronto to New York to South Africa, Johannesburg, Europe. It's been a lot of good response about the film, and to know that homeless is not just in the UK, it's something that we all recognize.
So Stephan, your experiences or sort of desires to get into film started from quite a young age. Talk to me about your early experiences, growing up. Where'd you come from? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know you. You're very you have a very kind of unique look. I'm sure people are trying to guess your ethnicity. People are curious about you. So talk to us about your early years. Like, who is Stephan?
I'm mixed race. My mom is European, French, Italian. My dad is from the Bahamas, born in the UK. But from an early age, I was raised by my mom. But at that time, at the age of 5, 6, when I rejoined my family, my mom was married to a Nigerian. So for me, even though I'm Caribbean, I still feel like I have this sort of Nigerian culture really given to me. And I'm very blessed about that, because I get to have these two choices, knowing the Caribbean side and knowing also the African and the Nigerian side as well. And so that's sort of my heritage, mixed white and Caribbean, but people think I'm Brazilian, Puerto Rican. People think I'm from, Portugal, and but I tend to probably take it more from my mom than my dad. So that's why. But I'm very much, Caribbean and United European, but very much also Nigerian as well.
You grew up in foster care. So did I. What age was you when you grew up in foster care?
From birth.
From birth. Okay. So even though you was aware of your parents and your mum's Nigerian partner, you wasn't raised by them, or part-time shared caring. Yeah. And stop me if this is something that you're uncomfortable talking about, but I think, just from my perspective, something that I've come to realize is that kind of like the older you get, your childhood almost really catches up to you. And I think that a lot of us who have grown up in the care system or who have had social services in our lives, we try so hard to be like normal as children, and then we spend all of our 20s like really trying to get away from that past, and we've got to smash it, and we have all these sort of like imposter syndrome things to overcome, and trauma and therapy. And then I know that you're still on the cusp of becoming 30. I'm mid-30s now, married with children, and so I've had, and then I had the pandemic. I had 2 children throughout that period. What I'm trying to say, Stephan, is that I feel like there's almost like a reclaiming of your childhood and understanding why, in essence, like that had to happen for you to become the person that you are. And I was reading Viola Davis's book recently because I watched the special with her and Oprah, and I cried 100 times because I was like, oh my God, she's been through what I've been through, she's been through what I've been through, she's been through what I've been through. And I never knew that until I saw her book, because again, you know, some of the most strongest looking people in our industry in many ways are actually the most broken, the most, you know, traumatized, have been through the worst kind of things. And it is that real paradox, isn't it? Like having such a sensitive heart, but making such powerful art. You know, like your first foray into film is doing Deleted, talking about the stories of a homeless man and homelessness in general. When you potentially have been through your own sort of trials and tribulations in life, you know, they call it like a wounded healer, that real paradox. Do you find that those sort of themes are entering your filmmaking because they're a lived experience at all?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. As we're growing up, you know, in foster homes, and we try to, oh, it's just normal, you know. We just have to get away to put this face, and probably we're the strongest people as well, because we've learned to protect ourselves. We learn to deal with situations. There's no mommy and daddy to pet you, or maybe I don't know what it's like. This is going to be weird, but if I tell you now that I don't know how to ride a bike,
Wow.
no one's given me.
You,
and sometimes it's the first time I'm actually saying it, because I wasn't given, but I wasn't crying about it because that's all I knew. There was no fight for me because, you know, that was the environment I knew. And it's like, if you don't know, you don't.
Yeah.
Or I didn't have Christmas present. That wasn't like, I wasn't bothered really, because like I said, that's all I knew. That made me stronger. But also growing up, you get into your mid-20s and towards early 30s, and you know, whatever, you become stronger to talk about it. Before, I never liked to talk about it, you know, I just brush it off. But I always say that without the mess, we can't get to the glory stages. We need the fertilizers. We need these problems to make you stronger, to learn situation, and then you can be able to come on top. So I really think that the mess is important. I find it as a fertilizer. I find, you know, the problems that we're making is like, you know, when things are going wrong, that you learn things about myself, to learn things about, or how can I correct to be able to get to that stages. For example, even Deleted, when I did it, what can I learn from that? And so that when I come to the next project, I will not repeat that process. And now I've worked with sort of high-end sort of production, still I've got tons to learn. And so what am I going to say? Again, is that fertilizer, it's that mess that I've made, the mistakes, that I will learn from that mistake and then come back. The main thing is that we cannot give up. Because then if giving up, it's like a baby that crawls. If it crawls and stops falling and doesn't raise, you will never walk. And so we have to, this is the part of life. Sometimes we don't get things at that time, maybe because we're not prepared mentally, emotionally, or creatively, or whatever it is. So we need those days when we're down to be able to come up stronger. So it's never easy.
I love that. And I might use that fertilizer analogy, because I think you're absolutely right. There is nourishment in pain. There is nourishment in challenges. And I think you're absolutely right. Like the more I'm sort of doing international things and starting to come back into the working world again after the pandemic and after, you know, first year of raising the children together, it's like the conversations that I seem to be having with people is that the mindset is that, you know, maybe I wasn't ready, you know, maybe things take longer for some people because they've got some deeper stuff to deal with before they are foisted into the spotlight, and then they can't handle it. You know what I mean? Or too much for them. Like you need to tidy up your energy, tidy up, things that might be holding you back before you forge forward. But you are forging forward, which is really, really awesome. So why don't you tell us and the listeners about Reshaped? I know we haven't shared any first looks yet or anything like that, but obviously I've been working with you and On Point Comms in the background.
Yes.
Doing some tastemakers about you as a filmmaker. So give us a little kind of sneak preview about what the genre is and how this story came to be told, so we know what we're looking forward to.
For me, it's important, first of all, that I make films that I believe in. I make films that comes from a source of truth. The example Deleted was homelessness and the source of what's going on. With Reshaped was about love, friendship as well, and also relationship as a mixed race man and what we go through and how we react to it. So it started with so basically, the film is about two couples who met online. 5 years later, they have a shared child, but he's madly in love with her, and also it also explores mental health. It also explores suicidal thoughts, the cage and the mask as a man of color that we have to put up and to and be brave about it. So that it sort of explores that, but also the relationship with technology, which is something I wanted to put a twist to it. And to be able to see, a lot of people getting into robots and they have all kind of things to, make themselves entertained or find companionship. So my first lines of Reshape when I started writing were the following: love unconditionally. And even the day it hates, love must stay. And when it tears you, let it tear you. The heart shapes and reshapes. And this is just about to tell you, no matter what the situation you're going through, we have that gift of adaptation, and the heart always shapes and reshapes. It's got a positive message behind it. No matter what we go through. In this situation of Reshape, it was love, friendship, and everything that he wanted from this relationship between him and the girlfriend. And so, yeah, I thought this will cover a lot of stages, and it's going to be beautiful. I'm excited to release it.
I'm really excited. I literally have seen the stills. I'm probably like one of the only people in the world that have actually seen the stills for this movie. So I can't wait for, people to see it a little bit later on, once you guys have got through your post-production.
I had my editor sent me like a draft one of the trailer, and I'm like, oh my God, this is boom, boom, wow, Lord, Fabris, she's incredible. And the whole look and the tension, the suspense, there's everything you can think in the film, and I'm like so excited. But I've also said, marinating a story, it's so important. Don't rush it. I think if there's one thing I've learned from this process, is really marinating it and revisit it, even with the editors. I take my time just to make sure it's right, even if we need to change some few voiceovers. So sometimes marinating the story for a longer time, and it helps. It's like like the veg that like your grandma does. She marinates them over the night and she cooks them down in the microwave. Sort of food, and that tastes always good when you marinate something over the night. So I always use food terms when I do films. That's one thing you need to know. I call them salad process, and the food is always like, that's the way that visually I can see it. It's always through food to describe it to food.
That is so nice. And so do you have a kind of launch date in mind for the film, or like as in season?
Hopefully end of the year.
I was going to say, I think it will be ready by the end of the year, or maybe going into 23.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. It's very, very, it's something that needs to be experienced in the cinema. So visually interesting, and the music. And so, yeah, I'm excited to also work on that as well, because I'm producing an album as well, an original motion picture soundtrack as well to go with it. So I'm working with different artists as well. So music and films will always meet. Like you had on No Shed, I remember the soundtrack was just, I remember it was so good. Love the artist. So from experience that music will always meet together with films as well.
You're right. It does help when they go hand in hand. I think what you're doing is really remarkable, and because you approach short film like they are a feature. The amount of energy, time, and dedication you put to the pre-production, the actual production, the post. Look, you're making a soundtrack, but it is for a short film. And I think you're just in such a great position that when you do your debut feature, you've really teased out and, you know, had different kind of genres that you've worked on. Thank you so much, Stephan Pierre-Mitchell, short filmmaker.
Thank you.
Massive aspirations, a really huge talent, the winner of the British Urban Film Festival Awards for Best Documentary 2020. It was on Apple TV with us. It's available in Samsung, Prime, and other different platforms. You can find Stephan on social media at Stephan_Pierre_. And yeah, we look forward to just tracking and staying in touch with you with your journey. Thanks so much for joining us on the screen.
Thank you so much, Claire, for having me.
UK, you're very welcome.
Thank you so much, Screenlately, and of course Choice FM as well, and everyone that's put this wonderful show. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.